Hello, and welcome to another Rouge unit of the week. And today we are taking a look at the MI-24A. In the 60s, the Soviets were experimenting with the idea of a flying infantry fighting vehicle. Essentially, in today's terms, an attack helicopter, it's also a transport helicopter. However, for the 60s, and it's a pretty new concept, so there's a lot of friction with Soviet higher command about trying to get this idea pushed. It wasn't until the Vietnam War of the American use of gunships where it started to take a little bit more seriously, and it wasn't until the early 70s where the first of these flying IFV attack helicopters would end up in service, which we all should know as the MI-24. This early Hind model definitely looks quite a bit different to what would come later. One of the small differences you might not notice is that the tail rotor is actually on the right side with the Hind-A, but later models would end up having it on the left. But really it's the entire cockpit structure and also the weaponry. Essentially when this entered into service, the original idea was to have a 12.7mm minigun as well as the new Sturm ATGMs, but those were not ready yet until the mid-70s. And so they just had to make do with what they got to get the first production going. So they just slapped a 12.7mm machine gun in the front cockpit and also used Flanger ATGMs as the main missile armament. Also, how the crew were positioned was more like a regular transport helicopter, side by side instead of the forward-back configuration of the later Hinds. In-game, the MI-24A is a 45-point transport helicopter available to the Soviet Union, and it has 3 weapons. So you have a single 50 caliber machine gun on an attack helicopter essentially, not that great. You have a bunch of 57mm rockets, which are decent at suppression stuff, and then you have the Flanger ATGM missiles, which I think the stats speak for itself. Down to the miscellaneous stats, it has 1 frontal armor, 1 at side, none at back, and none at top. It has 10 HP, big size, poor optics, a pretty fast speed of 330 km an hour, poor stealth, a decent fuel autonomy of 450 km an hour, no year restrictions, and also no type restrictions either. In battle, the Mi-24A is a not so great helicopter. If we just look at its weapons, I mean, the machine gun's essentially useless. The rockets can do something at least. It's really its best offensive armament. And the missiles, well, you might as well be throwing red paper rods at people rather than actually shooting these bad boys. If we compare it to the Mi-24D, which is the other Hind transport helicopter for Soviet Union, for 10 points more, it's not a great improvement, but at least you have some much better infantry fire support with the minigun, and the missiles are just a bit better. But it also isn't just an attack helicopter. Its main purpose in game is as a transport helicopter, and as a transport helicopter, it's not that bad. You have a lot of HP and even a little bit of armor, meaning that if you're getting a bit close to the enemy AA line, you do have a decent shot of maybe landing or getting out before getting completely blown up. But also, it's one of the fastest helicopters in the game at hour, because helicopters just need to beat the air into submission to allow them to go faster. So if you need to rush the enemy 2-pointer, for example, on Punch Bowl, the Mi-24A can get there pretty quickly. You do have some pretty interesting infantry options for this helicopter, such as Spetsnaz, Gaunt Shrekley, Spetsnaz GRU, Spetsnaz VMF, or Devkas. And as I mentioned before, it's a very fast helicopter. It's very good at the opener of the game. That's really its gimmick, I would say. So I'd recommend really taking this with the 10-man combat teams instead, especially Gaunt Shrekley. They're pretty good. Overall, the Mi-24A is a good transport helicopter, but a very bad attack helicopter. The thing is, it's great for getting people to the front line as soon as possible, but once it's unloaded the infantry, it's a 45-point dead rate, and it really does not have much firepower. I mean, if you look at the fancy Mi-8 with its rather nasty rocket load, that is a much better option as an actual attack offensive helicopter compared to this. And this is very distant to the Mi-24A or even really the D being used all that often. It's just not a great attack helicopter, and it's way too expensive for what you're getting. However, this isn't the main reason I wanted to make this unit of the week. The main reason is, for the longest time, the canopy of this helicopter has always reminded me of a T-Rex skull, and I want to share that information with you. So on that note, this has been another Language Unit of the Week. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as usual, please just take it easy.